Hey, welcome back. Today, we will examine the details of police interactions to discern the facts and nuances of right and wrong. In this episode, we delve into topics such as lane veering, frisks, and the right to film. This particular incident involves civil rights activist and auditor Daniel Tulis, who on October 7, 2023, was pulled over by Officer Jonah Deor of the Denim Springs Police Department in Denim Springs, Louisiana. Mr. Tulis documented the traffic stop by filming it, and the encounter was also recorded on Officer Deor's body camera.
What do y'all want? Hey, sir, you do me a favor, step to the front of my uniform?
Tell me what you pulled me over for?
Do me a favor, stand in front of my unit, please.
I can stand where I want. You can tell me what you pulled me over for.
Okay, so for my safety, I want you to stay in front of my unit.
And for auditor safety, I would like for you to tell me why you stopped me.
So
Who are you?
I will in just
Who
a second. Hey, man, stand in front of my unit.
I could stand where I want, dude.
Not on my traffic stop.
Not on my traffic stop. What do you want? What did you pull me over
Do me a
for?
favor, you can put the cell phone down.
No, I can hold my cell phone.
When it interferes with a...
It's not interfering. Recording.
It is.
Turner
It
versus
is.
Driver says it is not interfering. Louisiana, Texas, and Mississippi, as Turner versus Driver, have every right to film y'all. What did you pull me over for?
So the reason why I stopped, I noticed you were veering back and forth.
Oh,
in between.
don't give me that. It's all on dash cam.
Are you going to let me explain, or are you going to keep bumping your gun?
I'm going to keep bumping my guns because I have every right
Got
to
your
talk.
ID on you?
What do I need to get my ID for?
Improper.
What law did I break?
Improper lane use.
Improper lanes. I was in my lane. I got dash cam to prove it. I never broke line either side.
You don't have to break line.
I
Statute
didn't do
says
anything.
veering back and forth is improper
Veering
lane
back.
use.
I was not veering back and forth.
This ain't the courtroom. May I see your driver's license, please?
This is not the courtroom.
Nope.
Officer Deor states that he initiated a traffic stop on Mr. Tulis for what he describes as improper lane use, citing veering back and forth within his lane. Mr. Tulis contests this allegation, asserting that he did not violate the law since he never crossed over the lane lines. This argument draws upon the Supreme Court's explanation in the 1996 case of Wren versus the United States, which states that stopping an automobile is reasonable when there is probable cause to believe a traffic violation occurred. Quoting Section 79 of Title 32 of the Louisiana statutes, the court emphasizes that a vehicle should be driven entirely within a single lane unless it is safe to move to another lane. Courts, as illustrated in the 2001 case of State versus Waters, generally find probable cause for a traffic stop when a driver sways within their lane to the extent of touching a lane marking line. For example, if a vehicle veers in its lane without apparent reason, making contact with the fog line, it provides probable cause for improper lane use. Moreover, the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Louisiana, in the 2019 case of U.S. versus Jerry, established that an officer has probable cause if a vehicle weaves within its lane and touches the fog line. Similarly, in the 2020 case of U.S. versus Pierre, the court justified a traffic stop when a driver was observed drifting left and right to the extent that their tires touched the lane markers. Although Officer Deor claimed Mr. Tulis was veering back and forth, he later admitted to only witnessing a single veer. Consequently, it is doubtful that a court would validate the traffic stop unless Mr. Tulis's vehicle swerved to the point of touching the lane lines on the road.
This
May I
is not
see
the
your driver's
courtroom.
license,
So you're pulling me over saying that what? I'm
May I
drunk?
see your driver's license?
You're saying
please,
that
sir?
I'm drunk?
I'm not. Are you
Okay.
having a medical episode? Are you distracted? Are you tired? Have you been driving for a long time?
I don't answer questions. How about that?
Let's take a look at your driver's license, please.
Okay. Who are you, Denim Springs?
I told you my name is Officer Deor, Denim Springs Police Department.
Okay. And you're going to be one of the slow ones that just messed up. Now, what else do you want? Y'all are harassing me because of who I am.
I don't know who you are.
Well, I'm telling you, I am your worst nightmare at this point.
If you say that again, I'm going to take that as a
It's
threat.
called freedom of speech.
I
Learn.
will
See,
take
you better
that-
learn the law.
I will
learn the
take
law.
that
learn
as
the
a
law.
threat and act
What?
accordingly.
How is it threat?
Louisiana
What you
128,
Oh man,
1227.
you're gonna let this fool do this stupid this Sanjay? Really? You know I don't do nothing wrong. I don't break laws.
You know, I was just going to let you off with a warning, but I'm
And
going to
it's
write you a ticket.
For what?
Improper lane usage. You're going to get a
Write me a
ticket.
ticket. Write me the ticket. Go ahead. Go write me the ticket. Go on.
Stand right there. Actually got any weapons on you? Turn around, face
I don't
my
answer
unit.
questions. And this is gonna be an illegal search.
Turn around, face my unit.
Really?
Place your hands on top of your head and interlace your fingers.
I am recording you. Oh, okay. You see these people?
Now, spread your feet. Now it's an officer safety thing. You need to learn the law. So right
I
now,
do know
I'm
the
gonna be
law.
quiet. Shut your mouth! So I can conduct a lawful pat frisk for weapons for officer safety.
It's called Terry versus
And
Ohio.
I gave you 3 lawful commands and you sat there. You got 1 time. Yep, and you just messed up. A knife, interesting weapon.
I don't have to answer your questions.
I'm not asking you no questions.
You asked me about it.
You got the right to remain silent. Use it. Be quiet.
I don't have the right to remain silent.
Then use it.
Officer Deor proceeds to pat down Mr. Tulis, asserting his authority to do so for officer safety reasons. Mr. Tulis contests the legitimacy of this search, invoking the landmark 1968 case of Terry versus Ohio. In this case, the Supreme Court established that officers can briefly detain individuals for investigatory purposes based on reasonable suspicion of criminal activity, leading to a Terry stop. The court further emphasized the need for a narrowly drawn authority to permit a reasonable search for weapons if the officer has reason to believe they are dealing with an armed and dangerous individual. The court clarified that the officer doesn't need absolute certainty that the individual is armed. Instead, the focus is on whether a reasonably prudent person, considering the circumstances, would believe their safety or that of others is in danger. This standard was applied in the 1977 case of Pennsylvania versus Mims, where an officer was deemed justified in ordering a driver out of the vehicle and frisking him upon observing a bulge in his jacket. However, the 1979 case of State versus Hunter in Louisiana emphasized that while lawful detention for questioning justifies a frisk, it doesn't automatically grant the authority to conduct a weapons pat-down. The officer is justified in frisking the subject only when circumstances warrant a reasonably prudent belief that their safety or the safety of others is in danger. Well, in Mr. Tulis's case, even if he did not fully comply with Officer Deor's commands to stand in front of his vehicle, there is no clear evidence suggesting that he posed a threat. The body camera footage indicates compliance on Mr. Tulis's part, and there were no visible signs of danger, such as bulges in his pockets or aggressive movements. Consequently, a court would likely conclude that Officer Deor's search was unjustified and violated Mr. Tulis's rights.
You threatening me again?
You're gonna get a written.
Hey, that been written up. You don't even know.
You're gonna get written up. You're gonna get a complaint form.
Good.
It's gonna go on your jacket.
Come on with it. Put the phone down, man. Put the phone down.
We're gonna write me my ticket.
So this one's on?
Yeah. Yes, the last thing I yeah. I know law better than you do.
Have y'all dealt with him before?
I dealt a couple times, seen him. But I don't really, you don't really cause him any problems. It's up to you if you want to write to
Well, so I dealt with the cell phone thing when it interferes with his investigation.
It just in general, he's still allowed to record.
But within a certain distance of a law enforcement officer
They haven't
conducting.
approved that yet. They're trying to get that approved. But
They
I
haven't
have
approved here when I dealt with it.
Well, I have to double check on it, to be honest with you.
I'm gonna do that right now.
During the encounter, Officer Deor's partner, referred to as Sanjay by Mr. Tulis, informs Officer Deor that citizens generally have the right to record during a traffic stop. In response, Officer Deor mentions potential legislation that could prohibit filming within a certain distance of an officer. Officer Sanjay counters this by referencing the 2017 case of Turner versus Driver, which Mr. Tulis had earlier mentioned. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, with jurisdiction over Louisiana, had unequivocally affirmed that the First Amendment protects the right to record the police. In its decision, the court acknowledged that filming government officials, including police officers, in public places while performing their duties aligns with basic First Amendment principles. However, the court also recognized that reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions could be imposed, provided they are narrowly tailored to serve a significant governmental interest. Several states attempted to legislatively restrict the right to film the police. For example, in 2022, Arizona passed a law prohibiting video recording of law enforcement activity within 8 feet, but a federal court later ruled it unconstitutional in Arizona Broadcasters Association versus Mays. Similarly, Indiana passed a law prohibiting approaching within 25 feet of an officer engaged in their duties, leading to a legal challenge by the ACLU of Indiana. In Louisiana, House Bill 85, which aimed to establish a 25-foot restriction, was passed by the state legislature but vetoed by Governor John Bell Edwards. The governor, in his veto letter, expressed concerns that the bill could chill the exercise of First Amendment rights. Even if such legislation had been enacted, it would likely not apply to Mr. Tulis's filming during a traffic stop, as these laws typically target bystanders rather than the subjects of traffic stops who may need to remain within a certain distance of officers conducting their duties. Therefore, Mr. Tulis's act of filming would probably be protected under the First Amendment, and a court would likely find any attempt to restrict or prohibit it during the traffic stop as unconstitutional.
Sergeant Tanley. All on gas can.
Be quiet.
Hey, don't.
If you step any closer to me,
What's your inspection?
stand right over there. If you step one more foot closer to my unit, I'm going to take it as a threat, and I'm going to act accordingly.
I haven't even moved.
I want it back, son.
I'm trying. I'm trying.
I want it back. I'm just a backup officer, bud.
I know.
I wasn't going to write him a ticket.
Also, people knew for sure that he was there. Not trying to dumb questions.
So,
stop.
I noticed
because this is how that
I
walk
noticed,
got in trouble. Because they do have dash cameras.
well, I know.
Yeah.
So I noticed he veered to the center lane of travel right before he crossed over the intersection. But after that, he didn't veer.
After deciding to issue Mr. Tulis a warning, Officer Deor allowed him to leave, thus terminating the traffic stop. Mr. Tulis shared his recording of the encounter on his YouTube channel and later obtained Officer Debor's body camera footage, posting it as well. However, it remains unclear whether Mr. Tulis has filed a complaint or is pursuing any legal action. In summary, Officer Deor received a failing grade for various infractions during the encounter. He interfered with Mr. Tulis's First Amendment rights by repeatedly ordering him to stop filming. Additionally, Officer Deor violated Mr. Tulis's Fourth Amendment rights by frisking him without any evidence to support a belief that he was armed and dangerous. Furthermore, Officer Deor demonstrated a concerning lack of knowledge about the Constitution and the current state of Louisiana law. Officer Debor's lack of consistency in explaining the reason for the traffic stop raises doubts about the integrity of his claims. While initially stating that Mr. Tulis was veering back and forth, Officer Deor later told Officer Sanj that he only observed Mr. Tulis veer to the center once before crossing the intersection, with no further veering afterwards. Officer Sanj expressed skepticism about any veering occurring. Notably, Officer Deor openly admitted to consistent First Amendment violations, confessing that in his previous department, he would confiscate citizens' cell phones when they were recording interactions. This admission further underscores his disregard for individuals' constitutional rights.
See, I dealt with this in Point Capite, and when all that's going on, when it interferes with a law enforcement investigation, take the phone, turn it off.
Throughout the encounter, Officer Deor repeatedly referenced concerns about officer safety and potential interference, solely based on Mr. Tulis's exercise of his First Amendment right to record the traffic stop. It is evident that the act of filming posed no danger to Officer Deor or interference with his investigation. Instead, it appears that Officer Deor may have been using law enforcement buzzwords to justify an overly authoritarian level of control over Mr. Tulis's actions. Officer Sanjay receives a grade of C because, although he demonstrated an accurate understanding of the First Amendment protections afforded to Mr. Tulis's filming and took steps to correct some of Officer Debor's unconstitutional behavior, he was not assertive enough in preventing Officer Deor from unlawfully frisking Mr. Tulis and repeatedly ordering him to stop recording. While Officer Sanjay acknowledged Mr. Tulis's right to record, he could have been more proactive in defending those rights. In an ideal world, officers would be motivated to respect citizens' rights through professionalism and a commitment to the Constitution. However, this encounter illustrates the practical impact that potential lawsuits and complaints can have in deterring officer misconduct. Mr. Tulis receives an A for demonstrating an accurate understanding of his constitutional rights under the First and Fourth Amendments, ensuring compliance with the law throughout the traffic stop, and taking steps to pursue accountability for Officer Debor's actions. Although Mr. Tulis could have exercised his right to remain silent more effectively, he did not admit to anything incriminating. He successfully exercised his First Amendment rights by filming the encounter and expressing disagreement with the officer's actions. Mr. Tulis also completed with directives that a court would likely find lawful, such as standing in front of the police vehicle during the traffic stop, despite Officer Deor's lack of knowledge. Regarding the constitutional protections for filming police encounters, Mr. Tulis displayed a high level of commitment to his constitutional rights.